Steph, and I'm starting a YouTube channel. Just like that. I've actually made this video more times than I care to admit because I have a cute camera like that actually works well, but I can't seem to self-film with it. Like, I don't know, I guess I'm just like a technology noob or something. It wouldn't focus on me. We couldn't hear me after that. I fixed that problem, but the focus was still like a free game. So like half the frames you can see me and half of them you can't. Like, anyway, so I'm now filming with an iPhone because basic white girl situation here. But yeah, apart from the technical difficulties, because YouTube was supposed to be so easy, I'm starting this channel because I'm living a bit of an unusual life. I'm a Canadian. I'm sure my accent kind of told you that. Living abroad in England with my French husband and our Romanian dog, which you will probably see at some point. He's now on a walk, but anytime he's gonna barge in, and he doesn't care about cameras, obviously. So excuse him in advance. He's an adorable puppy, but yeah, he's gonna be our interruption on a daily basis. Just go with it. So yeah, I've been encouraged by my good friend Viv, who's one of my good travel buddies, and my husband, who's a bit of a YouTube obsessed freak, to start a YouTube channel because I've been planning some crazy things for the next few months, and they were like, dude, like, we know you like blogging and sharing your stories, but maybe like filming them and actually like having people there with you is gonna bring it to a whole new level. And honestly, they have a good point. So I thought this video could be a good opportunity for me to do a bit of an origin story, like how did I end up here, what am I doing still here. So how did I end up here? Friend Viv, mentioned a few minutes ago, who encouraged me actually to start this vlogging, decided that she wanted to leave with a one-way ticket from Canada, and I was really keen to like embark on this with her. So at first we didn't really know when or how we were gonna do this, and at the time I think it was like 2016 or something. We were fresh out of uni, we were dying to have actual cash, so we agreed that we would start working, and then a year into working, and we're teachers, so it's pretty easy for us to have a year cut off. A year into working, after our first big contract, we would take all the money we could and see where we could head off. Because we wanted to do a long trip, we knew we needed some kind of a cheaper place to be in that we would be okay not earning. So we decided, after a lot of conversation and chatter, that we would buy a one-way ticket to Peru. Because the other problem is that some of the countries we were interested in wouldn't let us in with a one-way ticket. We would have to prove that we planned on leaving and that we had an exit ticket of the country. So yeah, so we bought a one-way ticket to Peru because after the research, we kind of figured that Peru didn't care that much about this. So we went to Peru, and we were super interested by Peruvian culture, so I guess it was like the perfect mix, you know? So June 2017 is when we left Canada, and since then I've been to Canada for little trips here and there. I think the longest I've been in Canada since June 2017 must be 3 weeks or so in December 2017. And I'm sure, as you can figure out from my background, I don't seem to be living in Peru. So where am I? I'm in England. And how did I get here? Again, I think I've mentioned, in England with like a French husband and all of that. It definitely started in Peru, so stay tuned. So yeah, Viv and I took the plane, low-key, went to Peru in June 2017 and started traveling. We did have plans for like the first 2 weeks or so, hitting up like mainstream places like Lima and Nazca and Arequipa and Cusco. And then our plans kind of ended in Cusco. We didn't know much after that. My birthday's in July, so we wanted to hit Machu Picchu on my birthday. That was a good one. But yeah, after that, we didn't know. And we decided to try something called Workaway. So you might be familiar with it. It's a site that you can register on. I think it was like 30 American dollars to sign up. And basically, we had access to a bunch of businesses or individuals that needed volunteers. But in exchange for your volunteering, you would get sometimes meals, but oftentimes somewhere to sleep. And that was great because then we didn't have to have hostels or whatever. We could just live there for free. And with Workaway, it's normally 5 hours a day, 5 days a week. So it's not a lot of hours. So you still have many hours to visit everything else around you. Vivian's friend had traveled in the area, and she told us that Ollantaytambo was a good place to stay longer. It really had a nice vibe. There were a lot of travelers there, and in her personal trip, she hadn't planned much time there. It's like the last train stop before Machu Picchu, so it was just basically a stopover for her. And then she realized that it was like really cool of a little village. Really, it's I wanted to say town, but it's not. Okay, there's almost no one actually living there, so village. But yeah, she was sad because she didn't plan enough time for it, and she told us you should plan time for it. So we decided to work away there. We worked away in a hostel. No, it's not a hostel. It's a hotel. It's a small hotel, but it's a hotel, and it was really fancy. I would say didn't go too well for us because we had very different values to the owner of the hotel. He kind of had a view. Now, I'm not saying it's like that for all of Peru, and I'm not trying to put any Peruvians into a bunch, but it just turned out that the owner of that hotel was really not into women being free. So yeah, he was pretty much drunk and partying every day, but the fact that I was drunk and partying, or Vivian was drunk and partying, was an issue to him. And he was like, when you applied on the work, when you described yourself, you said that you were like relaxed people. And I'm like, well, I consider myself relaxed. I'm in bed by 11 p.m. I mean, that's chill. I was 22 or 23 at the time. That felt chill to me. So, and like I was never drunk in front of customers or anything. It was always after my work shift, you know? So I don't know. He just really didn't like it. And then I met Nathan, which I didn't know at the time, but my husband Nathan knew the owner of that hotel, and they did not get along. So when he saw that I was hanging out with Nathan, I had to go. I had to disappear. Vivian could stay, but I had to disappear. But that's not how we roll. So Vivian disappeared with me. And yeah, so that's Workaway didn't work out for me without wanting to do like word plays, but it got me to meeting my husband. And when I met him, he's French. And when I met him, he had been living in Peru for like 2 years. So I knew that my travel ambitions that were just getting bigger and bigger would probably fit well with his travel ambitions. And that just got me motivated. Like I was even more willing to try the abroad life experience. And I know for some of you now, at this point I was already in Peru for like a month and a half, and for most people I think a 6-week trip is really rare, and that already feels like abroad. But when I say abroad, I mean you're an expat, like you have a visa and you're working in that other country, but working like you're earning wages, not just getting free beds. So yeah, when I met him and I realized that he was doing it and that I could possibly do it too, I was like, oh my God, I have to try. This might be like my partner to do it with, you know? Because Vivian was also interested, but she had a lot of things still tying her to Montreal, which is where I'm from. And I don't know, I feel I just wanted a partner to do that. I didn't want to go abroad solo. For many reasons, but one of them, I'm a chatterbox. If you can't tell yet, you will notice soon. So I wanted to be sure I would have people to chat with on a daily basis. So there was so much hope in meeting this other wild traveler that didn't have a plan. So my plan could be his plan, and his plan could be my plan one day, and like it just fit, you know? But all of this I'm saying like 3-4 years in the future. So at the time, it wasn't that clear. Like, not even close to this clear. So way back in 2017, when I was traveling, it wasn't like, I'm just gonna abandon everything and run away with this man, because it's 2017 back then, and feminism was already a thing, and being a princess that one runs away with a prince was already frowned upon. Which is weird, because feminism is about empowering women and letting them do what they want, but if you do something that looks anything princessy or anything like changing your plans around a man, then you're not a feminist anymore and people shame you. So I wasn't too keen on doing that because I didn't want to be that girl. The second reason I wasn't too keen on doing that is because, as I said, I was traveling with Viv. I was traveling with a friend. And we had targets for this trip. Like, we didn't know where we were headed. But on our plane ride to Peru, we agreed that we should probably, like, set our expectations so that we didn't end up feeling unsatisfied. Because let's face it, how often in your life are you going to buy a one-way ticket to anywhere? Turns out a lot in my case. But back then, it was like a once-in-a-lifetime thing, or we thought. So we agreed that we wanted to try working away, which we did, and you now know how that went. We wanted to try to hit at least 3 countries, because South America has a lot of like small countries that connect together quite easily, and borders are easy to cross. So we were like, come on, like, let's do at least 3. And which really is a bit of a wild thing, because when you're a Canadian and maybe an American as well, you know that your country goes from one end of the continent to the other. So if you want to see another continent, except seeing your neighbors who have a very similar culture to you, you just can't. You have to spend at least $700 if you want to go to another country that has a different culture. So it was exciting to be in South America and to be able to go and hop into different countries. The other thing we wanted to do is we wanted to try and see as many different things, so cultural, like museums and stuff, cultural activities. We wanted to do like nature and sightseeing and adventures. So really, after a month and a half still being in Peru and deciding to stick with the man I just met, didn't feel like that was going to be a satisfying experience. So yeah, I guess Nathan was sad at the time, but now he's happy because he got me. But at the time, Nathan was quite sad to say goodbye to me and Viv, because we hopped on like a 12-hour bus to Bolivia, and it was great, okay? It was wonderful, and I learned so much more about, as I think I've mentioned now, I'm a teacher, so I've learned so much more during those trips about other teachers that were living abroad. So basically there's these agencies. My agency in England is called Trade, Wind and Sansa, but there's also Time Plan and a bunch of others. So I've learned through my trip that there were a lot of other teachers abroad that were teaching through agencies and were earning decent amount of money, and they were using whatever school they got a contract with to as a base, and then they were like visiting around, and I thought that looked really cool, honestly. So anyways, we continued visiting through Bolivia and eventually Chile, so we reached our 3-country target, and I can talk about these countries in a next video if that's of any interest. I know Chile is not doing so good right now because they're kind of having a revolutionary moment, but still, you could be interested, and I'm more than keen to share, because as I said, that was a really special moment in my life. Where I decided so many things, like deciding to jump in and to register with an agency that did teaching abroad. And eventually, after Chile, I decided to go back to see the French man I had met in Peru. And it was kind of a perfect timing, because Vivian, it was October by then, and Vivian decided that she was going to go back to Canada and try to start teaching again in Canada. So she took a plane to Canada, and I took a plane back to Peru, and I went back to Ollantaytambo, and I reunited with my French man, and we've been together ever since. So yeah, that's how I got the courage to be an expat, and that's how I figured that, you know what, hell, I can do it. If I took a one-way plane to Peru and I stayed in South America for 5-6 months, I can sure as hell take a one-way ticket again, but this time to Britain, and go teach. And although French is my first language, it's not that humble to say, but I do think my English is pretty good. So I thought Britain was like a good fit for a first teaching abroad experience, because I would be talking English all the time. I wouldn't have to learn another language. Over time, I've kind of learned Spanish on a functional level, but I didn't want to like go to Italy and then have to learn Italian before I could actually start teaching. I just wanted to hit the ground running, because let's face it, my trip in South America, which was 5-6 months in 2017, cost me near 10,000 Canadian dollars. So I was due for money at that point. The other reason I picked Britain, apart from the language, was that my husband, being an EU citizen, was, well, at the time he wasn't my husband. I didn't marry him within 5 months. But my boyfriend of the time / now husband, Nathan, is French. He can, per EU regulation, come to live to England without buying himself a visa, which was going to be crucial, because after 2 years of living in Peru, you can't really afford a visa to anywhere. So, especially because he was a bit illegal. So he already kind of had to pay money to the Peruvian government as an apology for overstaying his welcome. So between his flight back to Europe and that apology, there wasn't much left, because in Peru you earn soles, and soles aren't worth that much in the Occidental world. So yeah, all in all, signed up to an agency, got connected to I'm a special needs teacher, to a special needs school in England, and then accepted the job. It was a perfect fit for the reasons I've already explained, and within, I don't know, so by 7 months after my first one-way ticket, I was buying another one-way ticket, and this time it was to Europe. And I haven't really looked back since. So yeah, now I teach abroad and I live in England. And I think there's already a lot of content here, so I'll make another video about what's my life in England like and what it looks like. And no, I don't live in London, so I'm living perhaps a more traditional British life. And let's be honest, I said at the beginning of the video that any point my dog was gonna barge in, and we're dangerously close to that moment. So let's keep this video clean and neat and without any wet snouts in the camera. And yeah, I'll come back with the actual details of my so British life. So thanks for listening all the way. And now, this is my first time as a YouTuber, but I think I'm supposed to tell you to like and subscribe. But I mean, I don't know if that actually works, because they keep telling me and then I never do. So I won't blame you if you don't. But Google me, check me out again. There will be more videos.